everybody, and welcome to this fabulous webinar that we have, Crush Your Fitness Goals with NeuroStrength. My name is Amanda Cizik, and I am your host for this webinar, and I am a former MELT Method Master Trainer. I am a MELT instructor. I teach online Zoom NeuroStrength classes all the time, and I am here to bring with you some fabulous panelists today to really talk about this incredible work created by Sue Hitzmann called NeuroStrength and underneath MELT Method in general. So just a couple of housekeeping notes. The customer support or MELT related inquiries can be sent to info@meltmethod.com. And there will be a recorded version of this webinar, and an email will be sent to you after the webinar with a recording and a gift from Sue. So speaking of Sue, let's talk to her for a moment. Sue Hitzmann, who is the star of the show here, the one, the only. And just for those of you who don't know exactly who Sue Hitzmann is, she's a nationally recognized neurofascial science and research educator, manual therapist, exercise physiologist, and founding member of the Fascia Research Society. She is the founder and creator of the MELT Method, a simple self-care treatment technique that addresses the missing link to pain-free living, hydrated, supple fascia, and a stable, balanced nervous system. She's authored 2 best-selling books and is the CEO of Longevity Fitness, Inc., an online consumer and professional education business. I have known Sue since 2006. Hello, friend. How are you today?
Hello, Amanda. I'm so good. It's so good to see you. Thank you so much.
So good to see you too. And I'm so excited to dive into this. We do have a bunch of other panelists to introduce as well. So I want to get going with that. Next up, we've got Nikki Parker. Nikki Parker, how are you? Nikki is a MELT Method instructor and is certified also in the Pilates method. Yay. She is a mat certified in Fascia by Rail and has attended several MELT Pilates Method Alliance conferences, and she has become a PMA certified Pilates teacher. She enjoys putting her enthusiasm for fitness and her passion for Pilates with every student. I know that's for sure. Paying attention to detail and quality of movement to build a strong, flexible body. She is also has her BA she earned it at CSULB and became a jazzercise instructor, teaching fun and effective dance classes for almost 24 years. And she brings a wide range of background and her love of being fit to her Pilates and MELT instruction. And Nikki and I go a long way back. We've TA'd a lot together.
We have, Amanda. Great fun.
I know. I'm loving this group already, but we're not done. We got more.
Bring them in.
We also have Kim Villanueva. Yeah, we love Kim. Hey, Kim. Kim has, oh my gosh, this girl has over 20 years of fitness experience and shares her view that Pilates and the MELT Method are the foundation of everyday living and moving and should be considered a part of your daily routine to become more grounded and to get out and stay out of chronic pain and aches. She has successfully founded, owned, and operated Core Pilates in New York City from 2002 to 2017, and she now consults boutique fitness studios on everything from business strategies to teaching methodology. And Kim will be featured in the MELT Pilates Method for MELT on Demand. And in addition to working in the fitness, Kim has a private meal prep called From Scratch New York City. I've personally had her food. I have tasted her chefdom, and it is phenomenal. And I also have to say, you're one of the most beautiful MELT Method models that we have. I got to say, every time you're in amazing melted Pilates pose, it's just like, I want to be her when I grow up. So that's amazing. But to top off our panelists, we have Laura Boozer. And Laura is quite a fabulous and well-rounded human being here, and you're going to be very impressed with her. She is not only a certified MELT instructor, she is also a yoga instructor, a massage therapist, and a studio owner. She owns Karma Yoga Studio and In Touch Massage and Wellness Center in Elizabethtown, Kentucky, and just so happens to be a triathlete as well, which is, I know from my sister's experience of doing a couple of Ironman, it's no small task. So having you on this panel is fantastic, Laura, because I can't wait to hear what you have to share about how Melt Performance has helped you be a stronger and more better functioning athlete. So welcome to all of you, and thank you for being here on this fabulous webinar. And Sue, I want to kick everything off with you. So Melt Performance has been around for, gosh, I would say like maybe NeuroStrength has been here from the beginning. And Melt Performance is a subset of that. It's sort of the baby of NeuroStrength, but really you built the Melt method from your neuromuscular therapy practice to create NeuroStrength is really where Melt came from. And that knowledge, although we didn't know it at the time until we ended up taking NeuroStrength. But what's interesting and what we learned from being NeuroStrength instructors is that so many of us came from a fitness background where it was like, no pain, no gain. And, if you don't bruise, you're not doing enough. And if you're not crying or vomiting, you're not working hard enough. And, I know I kind of believe that a little bit, except that I never like to be outside my comfort zone. But I wanted you to talk a little bit more about that. And if you yourself ever believe that, and when did you get redeemed?
I drank the Kool-Aid. I drank the Kool-Aid. I was all in fitness. For those of you who don't know kind of the history of this, my background was in neuromuscular therapy. I got into fitness at 16, and it was really about aging well. It wasn't so much about just getting fit. It was something about aging, and what epitomized health and wellness when I was younger were Jack LaLanne and Jane Fonda. So diet, exercise, those seemed like the foundation. I dove knee deep into that, teaching, almost 30 fitness classes a week in New York City, going through a master's. I had gotten introduced to Leon Chaitow and Judy Delaney's work of neuromuscular therapy. And this idea of true joint stability being sensory motor and not musculoskeletal, something more about how the brain was perceiving our movements after injury or just from repetition. Compensatory patterns, faulty patterns were going to take place. And the problem with that, especially with athletes, is we don't know what's happening. So that really was an aha for me and sort of shifted my practice. And it really is the foundation of all of the years of my work. And really, fascia didn't come into play for me as being such an incredible changer of stability. I always was just hell-bent on the nervous system and the autonomic aspects of sensory motor control. But when I started to really understand fascia was because of my own pain in the late 90s. And what I can tell everyone is that understanding how to hydrate connective tissue will actually help to improve sensory motor control, so that when you apply sensory motor techniques and these neuromuscular, these deep intrinsic stabilizing techniques, they last longer, they make a bigger impact, and can really transform how you move and how you feel all in the same fell swoop. So it's a powerful technique. It's nuancy, but it's incredible what NeuroStrength is.
Yeah, and what I love about it the most is that it really addresses this idea of getting out of our regular repetitive patterns, which over time cause injury and instability in joints and neurological issues that with NeuroStrength and Melt Performance, we unwind that, which is great. And it takes some time to kind of back up the truck. But I wanted to check in with some of our other panelists about repetitive patterns for you. And Laura, I think you would be a great one to start with, seeing as a triathlete, there ain't nothing more repetitive than the moves you do in a triathlon with swimming and cycling, especially in a cyclist. I don't know how you stay on a bike for 112 miles, but it's insane, right? And yeah, the neck and the back and everything that does to you. And here you are now learning to unwind some of that. So can you talk a little bit about that and what those repetitive patterns have done for you?
Oh, yeah. Sue, this work that I've been doing with Sue gave me my life back, like literally gave me the ability to be a triathlete again. In my younger years, like everybody else, I started in sports, played college soccer. From the time I could walk, I was, I wasn't ever great at anything. I was good at everything, but just multi-sport all the time. So, but then have 4 children, gain, lose weight, all that stuff. Started into triathlons, and here's where the pain comes. I thought I was the most fit I'd ever been in my life, but then I heard, this is ridiculous, kind of a lot of people's journey that are panelists right now. But I used my foam roller and I rolled it all out and became, massage therapist, and I could make it feel better today, but I was literally just chasing my pain around, and just totally missed the mark. When I took the class during COVID, after 20 years of being very sport minded, active release technique, my skeletal alignment, that's all the work I did. I had the biggest aha moment taking my class. Like 20 years of this work just all made sense. And interestingly, when I was doing the online courses with Sue, I had gone through the previous 10 years of not being able to race. So I did 10 years of racing, Ironman. So I did 6 races, fell apart because couldn't chase my pain any longer. Had back surgery, had both my hips reconstructed. Every time I tried to run, couldn't do it again, no matter how I foam rolled, no matter what I did. And I'm good at fixing you, but I felt like a hypocrite. And then I took the online class. Then all of a sudden, I'm running in the backyard. And normally, if you've got pain, you know how to modify even on top of what your brain's already doing for you. And I'm like, oh my God, I just chased a ball and kicked it to my son, and I didn't feel that pain in my back. What just happened? But I had been in maybe the 4th or 5th week of class. Then the ultimate was I had this little bicep thing happening for about a year because I really quit kind of exercising, intentionally exercising, for training rather. I picked up a kettlebell to clean, and typically I would have to use the other hand. And I picked it up, and it was what I didn't notice. I'm like, picked it up again, like, can I swing that? It was gone, and only did the hand treatments. We had only done the hand treatments at that point. And then I'm like, oh my gosh, there's always a lot going on in my life with kids and life, but I'm like just engaged on my classes, on the Zoom calls, like nobody's business. Thought, you know what, I'm going to start training again. And so I started training again, and I'm almost 50. So I took, 11 years off, and I just finished Ironman Florida, and I did not, Sue, I didn't tell you this, I didn't hurt. And I woke up the next day, did my melt, did my foot treatment. I got a little sore, but I was more sore moving all this furniture.
You did it Ironman. You're going to get, triathlons, Ironmans, you're going to get sore.
Yes.
But,
that pain pattern.
Yeah, your story is so much like, I mean, it's kind of the journey I took. I think a lot of other instructors, and what you're talking about, she's talking about these really high level structural integration, the different types of therapies, and realizing that there is something still missing there. And part of that is that self-care practice. And again, that's how you reprogram your body. But I am so proud of you for being back and out there doing this.
And I if you would have told me that I would ever be able to race again, no way. Even though I motivate and help other massage therapists to learn their skills, to work with people, but it was that missing part. I mean, it almost makes you feel dumb, but it was that missing component that was just a game changer. And I've worked at a university for 18 of my 20 years with athletes, just traveling with basketball team and going a couple days a week. And again, I prided myself. I was the best foam rolling instructor ever. And I'm having to untrain. And I'm going to say, I'm not even saying untrain. I'm going to give you the Kentucky version. I just simply say, listen, if I haul off and frog you in the arm, what happens tomorrow? You have a knot. Like, fascia is now Kentucky, you just say frog, right? But harder is not better. You don't fix pain with pain. I knew all that, but by gosh, when you feel it and do it and change 30 years of repetitive pattern and can change that signal to the brain and remap, rehydrate, reconnect. When you can do that, and it wasn't hard, most of the time it's like, is this really doing anything? Go try running. I can knock out a 100-mile bike ride and not have that pain in my back and a numb foot.
Yeah, well, I think you said something. You also had children. Did you say that? 4 of them? Good.
Oh.
Okay, so 4 kids, plus an athlete, plus a massage therapist. I'm a massage therapist as well, so I hear you with that. And so I kind of want to move on and talk about what is in the meat of melt, right? So we have the 4 R's of melt, but then we also have the 2 R's of melt NeuroStrength. So really there are 6 R's of melt. And then beyond that, whatever you do on your own is that next R, which we call rebuilding. But so Sue, we know that when you're learning the basics of melt and you're getting the hydration techniques, you have the first 4 hours of melt. But can you just go in a little bit into the difference between the two of the 4 hours and the 2 hours? Like what is it that separates the two, and can't they be combined into one kind of a thing?
They are combined into one, which is what melt performance is, right? So the basic protocol of melt is to allow the nervous system and the autonomic regulators of stress repair and digestion to come back into balance. Those are the rebalancing techniques. Rehydrate, compression, and lengthening techniques are ways to rejuvenate the supportive qualities of fascia and the fluid flow of fascia, because fascia is a tension compression management system, and most of us have tension compression management, which is what causes you joint pain and muscle strains and just overall fatigue. And releasing, decompressing the primary spaces of your neck and low back. Those are ways to get the fascial system more stable and integrated. NeuroStrength, neurological reintegration and repatterning techniques, these are more neuromuscular. So instead of doing hydration for fascia, you're really looking at how the brain is firing muscles and motor neurons in a particular way to yield stability before mobility, because you can't really be stable if you're inefficiently mobile, right? I say that a lot. And so these techniques are very nuanced, and what they're focused on is getting the intrinsic stabilization components, the mechanisms that stabilize the shoulder girdle and the pelvic girdle, to re-engage and basically improve their timing, because daily living gets our muscle movers like our pecs, our lats, our glutes to actually get overcompensated. And the problem with that is muscle movers shouldn't be stabilizers. Stabilization should happen intrinsically. And so if you're bracing your body, which is what a lot of people do without knowing it, you're actually decreasing the stability, and over time that's how you get injured. So
And exhausting your nervous system too.
exactly. So neurological reintegration is about reintegrating the neurological mechanisms that stabilize our joints through these intrinsic, very subtle body techniques. And then repatterning techniques do just literally repattern very isolated movements, so that as we create dynamic function, our joints are more stable as we move. And the crazy thing is how quickly you feel changes incorporating NeuroStrength with your melt. Once you're hydrated, you start doing NeuroStrength, and it'll blow your mind as to how quickly you can change pain in joints, stability to instability, right? You can really alter the way that your body is functioning if you know how. It's just most people don't know about neuromuscular therapy. I don't know why. It's like Eric Dalton's work. Why don't more people know about his work?
Well, yeah. I mean, I don't know why there aren't more neuromuscular therapists in the world. It'd be great to be able to refer them out. But then I'm like, well, let me teach you how you could be your own neuromuscular therapist. It's takes some time to learn, and it can be tricky in the beginning. But once, like you said, once you get it down, I mean, I'm a massage therapist myself, and I wouldn't be able to do the job. I would already be out of a gig if it weren't for melt. But with that, that whole idea of dysfunction that NeuroStrength addresses, the melt in general addresses, especially joint dysfunction. I wanted to talk to both Nikki and Kim on this one, and I guess Nikki, you can fire in first. You guys both have different, kind of similar but different backgrounds in your fitness world. The dysfunction, Nikki, that you see in your practice and in your people and in your background, all the way back to jazzercise days, what is it that you see is most common for you? And
well,
yeah.
One of the things that melt really helps me with is when I see clients coming into my studio, where I work at for Pilates, I see how out of balance they are. And the technique of getting them to body sense and realize where they are feeling inefficient in their body, and understanding that if I'm going to put them on a piece of Pilates equipment, a reformer, and get them to move, I need them to be more centered and balanced before we start. They buy into it. We do 10 minutes before I start a reformer class. And I'm seeing clients my age. I'm 68 years old. I have been fit forever because it relieves tension and depression in my body. But now I'm active without pain because I've learned how to take care of my body. So my clients, I see improvement in them with more stability because we've created more balance. Even if we just do a 10-minute sequence, melt is that powerful. Right. Then their Pilates performance becomes even more efficient. They get more out of it and do it better. That's what I see. Yeah.
Yeah. Kim, what kind of dysfunction do you typically see in your clients? Like what walks in your door? What do you typically see?
Well, mostly I see a lot of hip instability. I would say more than anything, and maybe that's because I'm in New York City and people are walking up and down stairs and just in general moving a lot. And I feel like Melt and NeuroStrength has completely changed the way I teach. I can't teach a person or look at a body the same way anymore, ever. And I had this woman come in today who was probably early 80s, and she gave me this whole bucket list of things that were wrong with her. And I said, okay, so we're going to start with a Melt foot treatment. And she said, well, why are we going to do that? And I said, well, do you want to keep all this compensation? Do you want to get stronger with all of this dysfunction you have in your body? Don't you want to get more balanced and feel better before we strengthen everything? And she was like, oh, okay, let's do that. So, I really try to almost sneak it in, because people here, they come to the studio, they want to do Pilates, they want to like bust it out and sweat and move. But, I'll kind of layer in hip stability moves, shoulder stability moves. And, they don't really know that it's Melt until they see the difference. I have them do a movement assessment. We do a little sequence, then they reassess. And then I'll say to them, oh yeah, and by the way, that's what Melt is. So then they want it more.
Kim,
So
you're saying something so big. I hope everybody's hearing this. I want to make sure I touch upon this, but a lot of people, we don't realize that we have imbalances unless somebody else points it out. And the problem with the mindset of fitness and the Pilates world and whatever, we always have to be training really hard to make something change. But the thing is, if you start taking your Pilates and you have instability and imbalances, just loading the body isn't going to make you a less unstable body. Really, if you're unstable neurologically and you train and you strengthen your muscles, you actually become a stronger, more dysfunctional body. You actually get better at managing your imbalances and dysfunction, and you never eliminate it. And that's really the diverse difference of NeuroStrength, is we're trying to literally reprogram those neural pathways of stabilization, it's called synaptic pruning, cut down some of those poor neuromyofascial patterns and return optimal mobility, actually triggering a change in your sensory motor control and eliminating the dysfunction rather than just being a stronger, more dysfunctional body. I think that's a really important concept of why melting your feet and doing some neurological hip stabilization before you use the reformer is huge, because then you get all the long-term gains that you want out of your Pilates practice.
Yeah.
100%.
And, I do want to talk a little bit more about this, since we are talking about crushing your fitness goals with Melt Performance. So fitness goals, obviously it varies from person to person. If you're an athlete, or if you're just your average, not average person, but if you just like to work out a lot, or you just want to look sexy in a bikini or good in your gym shorts or whatever, it can be such a struggle for people to be like, now I gotta do this other thing that is Melt, and it just takes up time. It doesn't really, and again, it does take time to learn the moves, learn the language, understand it, especially with NeuroStrength, getting in the correct positions. It's all about the setup, and it's about the precise 4 repetitions of reintegration, 4 repetitions of repatterning. And I started to put together, and I'll create it one day, but a melted workout kind of thing, just to kind of prove to the world that yes, you can do both at the same time as sort of a workout. And so, Sue, talk a little bit about that, about like in your personal experience. I mean, you work out in the gym, look at your arms. I mean, you're like one of the strongest people I know. So talk about like how you incorporate Melt in the gym. How do you do that so that people understand?
I think you're right. We always feel like we have to do one thing, right? Like, I'm going to do my chest day, I'm going to do my upper body day, right? And so we get very myopic in it. So the approach that I take when I go to lift weights, if I were going to do an upper body day, I was going to do some bench press, maybe some biceps and triceps, and just be super strict in my strength-based work, which I still love to do, I would do some of the upper body stability techniques. And it really is, although it's nuancey, Amanda hit on one thing. It's 4 repetitions. Okay, 4. Okay, so how long does it take to do 4 repetitions? About 30 seconds. Okay. So the beauty of understanding, once you understand how to do the NeuroStrength moves, is one move could completely change the timing and stabilization of a joint. So if I'm working on my upper body, I might do side lying arm fan and doing the 4 repetitions to set my body up, and then doing 4 for the pattern, and then switching over and doing the other side, and then going to do bench press. My joints feel more stable. I feel like I can actually load my body a little bit more. And so I'm in my 50s now, and so really maintaining the tone of my body and maintaining that muscle mass to me is critical. And one thing I know about muscle mass as you age is you do have to load the body. You do. It is true. But if your joints are unstable and your sensory motor timing is faulty, you have a higher tendency toward muscle ache longer and joint breakdown. We actually can alter our joint alignment. The actual centralization of joints can break down. So I just add 1 or 2 of the NeuroStrength moves, and then I have added at the gym, and I might do all of 30 minutes of an upper body power day and then get out of the gym and go back to my normal life, right? Because I don't want to be in the gym for 2.5 hours anymore. And Laura, I'm sure you can speak to this.
Oh man, I know. I'm like, please speak.
Laura and I have such a similar background in the weight training, in the cycling. I mean, I was a competitive cyclist. I've done triathlons, and so we are in that idea of no pain, no gain. But it is not true, right? I mean,
no. And I should have warned. I've never been cut, so even speaking to the foot treatment, I don't miss. I do the softball, the big softball foot treatment every morning when I brush my teeth, and I don't have any hair anymore. So when I brush my teeth and dry my hair, which takes me, I don't know, 5 minutes tops, I do my feet. And when I don't do my feet, I can feel it. It just the large ball, the mini foot treatment or the mini hand treatment is, I mean, I know probably anybody watching is like, this girl's crazy. It's that simple.
It's magical. It's a magical blue ball.
Blue balls. Everybody needs some blue balls. That's all I can tell you. A blue ball will change your life, but it really will. You literally feel all that, the piezoelectric current, like you feel it go through your body and makes your joints feel seamless. When you get out of bed and then you go to stand, you do a little foot treatment. You can Google it if anybody's listening, and just do it with a little soft ball, and like, is that just, and then you start noticing what you don't notice anymore. Like, I'm not feeling my back. I'm not feeling my whatever. I still question it. And I think 4 different clients today I've just educated on, like, how is this do this? I mean, logically I know, but it's so hard to remap your thinking on more is better.
To heal. The body is designed to heal. We are the cause of the dysfunction, not our bodies.
Yes.
Our seated postures, our need to be the no pain, no gain and train as hard as possible. Our mindset and the awareness that we have of what's going on inside of our bodies is the missing piece. And that really is the foundation of MELT. Assess yourself just like a therapist, just like Laura and I would do. We would assess you, we would treat you, and then we would reassess our work on you. As a therapist, that's what we do. Well, you need to do the same thing to your body. You assess for common imbalances. You can identify when accumulative stress in connective tissue is altering sensory motor control and stability and joint alignment. You can assess it. Then you treat your body and reassess and see if you've eliminated it. And if you have, I'm telling you, when you get up to move around, you're moving differently. Your body is moving in a more stable way because your brain has a better connection to those joints. And I think that's critical for people to understand about daily living, is that we are the cause of dysfunction. But we can also then treat it and care for it so that the autonomic instability that occurs outside of our voluntary control and conscious awareness doesn't add up and cause pain over time.
Yes.
Yeah. And, adding on to that, I want to say it's never too late, right? It's never, ever, ever too late to get back some of those things that you think are lost and gone forever. So, Sue, we live in Florida. This is the land of retirement. So you have a lot. I mean, so many people who end up on my table are, in their 60s, 70s, even 80s, who are like, oh, I can't play golf anymore because of this, that, and the other. Now, they came to me at a spa for a massage, but I always refer them to Melt on Demand. I always refer them to Melt. I refer them to my own classes, of course. And I just think it's so important for those of you who are watching this or listening to the recording, watching the recording, that if you are one of those people, if you're like, I just want my golf game back, or I want to be able to play tennis again, we have a solution for you. We really do. And I'm curious if, I know for me, in my thing, I recently had a client who I gave him he was like, I have a pinched nerve and I'm seeing it and I can't play golf anymore and all this. And all I did was I did a massage with him, but I showed him how to do the mini softball hand treatment. And I said, do this every single day. And I checked in on him 3 days later and he said, you cured me. And I said, no. I did not cure you. I gave you a tool to allow your body to heal itself. And that's so much of what the assessments are about too, to add that on. But I just wanted to see, like, Nikki, for instance, do you have any of those kind of clients where they've said, my life is over and I can't do this anymore? Please
I
talk.
have so many because I've built a practice for 20 plus years. So my population is aging, but I'm keeping them young because they're valuing the simple changes that they can sense. This isn't rocket science for the person to feel the differences. You feel them the minute you do the work. I have time and time again, more hip stability, hip replacement people, giving them more hip stability, doing clams and doing sideline, all of that. And they're like, they're so much more confident about moving in their bodies without pain. So it's not that it's complicated to do. It is a simple process. It only takes a few minutes. My best example is my husband, 3 back surgeries and a hip replacement. We still walk, we still snow ski. He melts every single day. Hands and feet are the go-to for him. It relieves that tension from all of that scar tissue. He goes to the gym. It's noticeable. People feel it right away. It's wonderful.
And
Yeah.
Nick, hey, I just got down to Florida and the word pickleball has been thrown at me. I'm now living at the World Tennis Club, so I am going to play some pickleball so that you and I can play the next time I see you. I know that you've gotten into it. And
I have.
What a critical thing it is to have your hips stable, even I don't know, like it just kind of looks like a smaller version of badminton and tennis kind of together so that you
Totally.
don't run around as much. But listen, there's still a lot of quick lateral movement and a lot of quick gyring motions. So I can't get melt here.
First 2 weeks I did pickleball, I was like, oh my God, what's going on in my back? And then I figured out, oh, I need to do this, this, and this with melt. 10 minutes later, I have taken out the wear and tear and I can go back and play again. And the whole population I'm dealing with is my age. They're 50s, 60s, and 70s. And they all, it's like a market that I'm dying to get into because they all need this.
And the
Yeah.
bone on bone, how many people, Nikki,
Oh.
have you heard they say, the next thing's a replacement and because I'm bone on bone.
Yes.
They told me that with reconstructing my hips 12 years ago, that hip replacement, you're bone on bone. There's nothing else you can do. I just did an Ironman and I have no hip pain, nor do I have back pain. And this
because
is
you're keeping the fluid in those joints and you're keeping them more stable.
That's right.
So that you can do that movement.
Yes.
Yes, definitely.
Kim, how about you, as far as some of those people who are like, I want my life back? But actually, before you answer that, there's one other thing I wanted to pile on to what Sue and Nikki were talking about, which is not just the pain aspect in pickleball, but the more you melt, the better your timing's going to be to, like the accuracy. Yeah,
More
I know
hand control, more foot control.
or anything, but for regular and same thing with golf, especially. My gosh, those rotational sports.
Any of those.
So Kim, how about you? As far as like have you gotten any of those clients of yours who said like, I just want my life back, and or they hear my doctor told me, which is always like, oh, I hate that
I've had a lot of people who've had minor injuries lately, whether and older clients, actually not even, but have had like a bone break or, a sprained ankle. And they feel like, the doctor says it's going to take this many weeks for you to be able to raise your arm again. And so many of them that I do melt with, they go back to their doctor and the doctor's like, wow, how can you move your arm that much so soon. And people feel like they're a little defeated, like I broke my arm, or I broke my arm, I hurt my ankle, and it's never going to be the same again. And just so quickly, they've bounced back and been able to get back to better range of motion, regular gait so much faster than they thought, really thinking they wouldn't get better at all.
Yeah. Isn't that
Yeah.
amazing? It's really incredible. And somebody was asking in the chat here, and I think I'll just kick it back to Sue for this one. When you are talking about the hip replacement and moving without pain, and I mean, this kind of goes with Laura's story. How is that even possible? It seems like when you get to a bone-on-bone status, it seems like, how is that possible that it doesn't hurt anymore? Like, can you explain the science behind that a little bit more?
Sure. I mean, well, first of all, pain is 100% of the time produced in your brain, right?
Yeah.
It's not produced in your joints, it's produced in the brain. And when the brain gets a message from the body, hey, something's wrong here, the brain's going to go through a process, kind of like a file cabinet, saying, well, have we seen this before? Is this something that we've done before? No, I don't know. Yeah, actually, that's that hip thing. Send her pain down and let her know that something's wrong down there. And it's how we have, I think, reacted to the pain that was there for years, right? People always say to me, it's not like all of a sudden my back hurt me. Their back or their hip was kind of bothering them. They had been limping for a while. And the thing about limping is it alters sensory motor control. It literally, we adopt compensatory patterns to manage the problem. But then you go and you get a hip replacement, but the compensatory pathways that you had pre getting the hip surgery are still there. So just going to PT afterwards, guess what you're going to be? A stronger, more dysfunctional body. You're actually going to maintain the dysfunction that they just tried to get rid of by giving you a hip replacement. And so the pain is going to remain because you're not adopting a new neural pathway. So when you have, even if you have bone on bone, or hey, you're headed toward a hip replacement. The only reason I would get a hip replacement is that the pain finally caught up to me and it was diminishing my life. If I don't have pain, keep the hip as it is. Laura is kind of one of those rare breeds. She actually she's in a triathlon. Go figure. I mean, what? Who does? Right? But you can because, and I mean, I've had clients who have the same thing. They had chronic pain in their hip. They were walking their way into a hip replacement. I saw the x-ray, it's bone on bone. I said, well, let's just try to get better hip stability and let's see if we can alter the neural pathways of stabilization, get stability back into your body and see if your movement changes. And literally in weeks, you see, not only in like the first session, but I'm saying over weeks, you see them walking into the office a completely different pattern, a completely different movement. And they say, my hip does not bother me. I just walked up the 4 flights of stairs to get to your office. My hip is fine. And I said, well, then cancel that hip replacement for now. It might happen in a couple of years from now or 5 years from now or 10 years. I'm not saying it isn't because it is bone on bone. So after a while, the body is going to tell you, I just cannot find stability any longer. And that's when you get the replacement and you'll be better for it. And the beauty of NeuroStrength is if you do NeuroStrength and then you have a hip replacement and then you do NeuroStrength and you come back, you will not have pain and you will adopt a new pattern and you will use that joint like it is yours from birth.
And your recovery will be half the time that the doctor normally says, which is amazing.
Yeah.
So I want to bring up something that is a personal thing for me. And Sue, I'm sure you remember this when I was taking the training back 1,000 years ago. And some people will be able to relate to this, is the whole idea of a healing transition, or some people call it a healing crisis, right? So if you've been this stronger, more dysfunctional body for a number of years and you start melting, you might find that suddenly a whole host of issues come up. For me personally, it was an old tailbone injury I got as a teenager when somebody pulled me off a high counter, and I probably broke my tailbone, didn't do anything about it. Bothered me for years, and then one day it didn't bother me. Then I took the melt training and it came back like it had just happened. My knuckles started inflaming. I had low back pain. And this is back when we did the training very differently, when we did 4 days, took a month off and came back for 4 more days. And Sue, you had said, how's everyone doing with this? I'm like, I've never felt worse. And I just told you the whole thing and I was ready to quit. And you said, trust me, just keep melting. The body will respond. And I wanted you or either Nikki or Kim to address this as well, because it's so important for people getting into melt who think melt isn't for me because it hurts. It's made me worse. Have any of you, I've had several people say the same thing. I'm like, please just be patient, lay back, just do the hand and foot treatments, and let's talk in a little bit. So I don't know, Kim, tell me anyone that you've had an issue. She's laughing.
The same thing happened to me. I don't remember which training it was, but it was day 2 of training. I felt amazing. I was blow drying my hair. I went upside down and I came up, and all of a sudden there was a tweak in my back. And I literally could not stand up straight. I was completely hunched over. I was like, oh my God, what am I going to do? And I remember walking into the training and Sue was like, hey, what's wrong with you? And I was like, I can't stand up straight. And she would like, come over here and you put your hands on me. And we did, something with the roller underneath my pelvis. And then after a few days, it dissipated. But that was an old injury for me that maybe once a year, my back would go out where I was out for the count. I'd have to be at home for 1 or 2 days, and then it would go away. And it hadn't happened for a while, but then in this one training, it came back like gangbusters. And I just thought, okay, it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. Just keep going. And it really unwound itself. And I have to say that since then, my back has not gone out again like that. I could almost feel like it's going to come on, but then I know what to do now to get on the roller so that it stops.
I want to address this because this is huge. And I know that Nikki will also have a story like this. These are called healing transitions. And the thing is, again, we adopt such a pattern. And when you get injured, how you heal, it's kind of like a scar, right? We heal, but it's never going to be the perfect skin layer like we used to have. There'll always be a little remnant, and under the skin there is as well. And when you have an injury, what chronic pain is defined as is either a persistent pain that lasts for more than 6 weeks, or a pain that it comes on with massive aggression and periodically over a year, like it might come on once or twice every year, it comes back, and each time it comes back it actually gets worse. And the thing that Kim is alluding to here is when you have one of these kind of issues, or you break your tailbone or something happens, as you accumulate stress and heal and compensate to do so, you now adopt patterns. And what melt is doing is like peeling the layers of an onion away, taking you back to something that is truly the primary and primal patterns that you had developed from 0 to 2, and getting those neural pathways back on track. But once you open that door, which might feel like a floodgate to some people because they're like, my knee pain from when I was 12 came back and my neck problems. I said, it's your nervous system saying, oh, are you here to fix things? I have a list to you. And as long as you're working on it, work on these as well. But the thing is, if you do instill a daily self-care practice and you build the level of tolerance back to stability, once you're there, it is incredible how those pains just stop coming back every year, or the chronic pain dissipates. And that, my story was the same. When I had started to really work on melt, a knee injury that I had in my 20s came back in my 30s, but now I'm in my 50s and I can, just like Laura, I can run miles, I feel great, my body doesn't hurt me. But that's the sustaining power of stability, is when you can maintain stability and then treat it a couple of times a week, you just keep it.
Yeah. I mean, I know that for me with my tailbone issue, which obviously it went away, and here I am, a former melt master trainer. I mean, I stuck with melt the whole time and still do it. But to people, I say it's almost as if my tailbone got mummified in all this dehydrated fascia. And then as I started hydrating all of that, the pain signals just came back, and it eventually went away. And I usually say to people, I would never ask you to do this, but if you did palpate my tailbone, it's actually bent in half. It's bent in half. I've been walking around with a broken tailbone this whole time. So anyhow, Nikki, what's your story?
The I think the key is it's got to be daily maintenance. This is self-care. This is something you're taking the time to do to make yourself work better, feel better, move better. During the pandemic, we opened up Zoom classes, right? I've been doing them and I haven't stopped. My MELT participants at different levels have all felt, because we did it more consistently on a regular basis because they had nothing else to do because it was a pandemic, their bodies have never felt better.
Yeah.
And that's encouraged them to continue doing this on their own when they're not with me. So daily care and hands and feet, that's the go-to.
Speaking of hands and feet, we have somebody who's a MELT level 1 instructor, Sherry, who's saying that she is scheduled to have bunion surgery and next week. And she's saying, when and how can I learn NeuroStrength? Well, MELT on Demand and social media. MELT Method is on Facebook. We are on Instagram and YouTube. You've really developed quite the library on YouTube, Sue. I love it. So people can get a sampling there. Also, instructors, hi, I teach NeuroStrength every single month. I do Mega Map series. But yeah, I mean, that bunion, I'm sure we could talk about this, relational injuries, right? So did her bunion really come from her feet or did it come from her hips? Did it come from heredity? Yeah.
Could we just ask why we all understand the concept of brushing our teeth and flossing, but we don't understand the concept of doing anything remotely close to that for our body?
That's right. It's a
That's all it
daily
is.
self-care practice. She's saying it right?
Couple
We brush
days.
our teeth every day so that everybody can stand our breath, but we do it every day to create a lack of tooth decay as we age, right?
Yes.
And that is the same thing as daily self-care maintenance on stability. The thing about stability is that our bodies, again, are designed to compensate. So from day to day, you are going to accumulate stress. I mean, living is stress. You're not going to get rid of stress. It's living, right? But if we can just spend 10 or 15 minutes every day just reacquiring some of that neurological stability and restoring the fluid flow of fascia to our joints, it just helps to support the quality and health of our movement over time. It's going to keep you feeling resilient at any age. And that's really the secret of it, is it doesn't take a lot of time. You're going to have to invest a little bit of time in just the learning, but it's like anything. You didn't just get up on a bike one day. You fell 70 times and then you finally learned how to ride it. So, just be okay with exploring and learning something new. And on MELT on Demand, there's a collection called MELT Performance, and the MELT Performance collection walks you through the techniques and the sequences and the foundational stuff. So when you start using MELT on Demand and you do NeuroStrength, you get it. But Amanda's saying something really important. We do have thousands of instructors worldwide, and the many hundred that teach NeuroStrength do teach online and live classes. And so I would find them as well.
Yep, you can find that we have a finder on the website, meltmethod.com, and you can find an instructor anywhere, either by name or zip code. You can find them. And they have an array of things going on there. But there's one other thing as we get close to wrapping this up that is really another part of the magic of MELT. And I think it's so important for people to understand, which is the very golden rule of MELT, which is indirect before direct, right? So if you are one of those people who's like, I just got to get back to my game, or I want to get stronger, but I have this nagging thing in my back, and you just want to crush the crap out of that thing in your back, let me tell you something. Your back is not the problem. It's probably coming from somewhere else. And let me tell you, I, as a massage therapist, Laura, maybe you have the same issue. My neck is a constant issue for me. But the only thing that gets my neck out of pain is working my low body and my pelvis. And well, yes, and hands too. But it's incredible. Like if I just go and started working on my neck, I would just feel worse over time. So Sue, I just wanted you to touch on this whole concept of indirect before direct, because it's so.
That is really that if you have pain, the last thing that you want to do is chase your pain or go after it. And I always say, if you think of pain as a kid, like a victim crying out for your help, when you have a pain area, think about it like a child screaming for your help. I always say, if a kid was crying out for your help, you wouldn't walk up to them and punch them in the face, would you? No. You would get down at their level, you would soothe them, you would talk to them, you would calm them down, you would take information in, and then you would make a plan of action that would help the child, right? But when our bodies are screaming out for our help, what do? We take a ball and we jam it right into the area that hurts us, like as if inflicting pain will make our bodies stop crying out for help. And it doesn't work. It really doesn't. You'd be better off recognizing that if your neck space is bothering you, you probably have a ton of accumulative stress living in your torso and your pelvis. So if you hydrate the regions away from the areas where you have pain and work indirectly and then toward the areas where you have pain, you just are going to minimize increasing inflammation and irritating tissue that's already irritated. So especially in the case of pain. Now, when you have NeuroStrength, the beauty of NeuroStrength is that is more local. It is more directed toward regions of the body, but we would still take an indirect before direct approach. So if I were going to work on the shoulder, I would hydrate the upper back, I might do a neck release, and then I would do the stabilization techniques, just because if I can bring hydration to a joint, move it from a different area toward where I want to work, and then stabilize that joint, it just is going to make more of an impact on your body. And that's the real uniqueness of MELT, is that we're working on the neurofascial system, not the musculoskeletal system. We're working on how your nervous system operates and how your fascial system operates. And together, that's what stabilizes your body. So learning how to treat it from day to day, I think, is the missing piece for athletic performance and just living well in your body.
Yeah. And, you know, if you all really want to learn more about the anatomy of all this, definitely get Sue's books. She talks much more about all of that. But just to kind of, you know, tie that up in a bow, that it's important for, yes, you have your musculoskeletal system, you have your nervous system, you have your fascial system. But here's the thing, everybody. It's all one, right? We're all whole. We are in the round, as Joanne Avison would say, from head to toe, skin to bone, there is no separation. Don't forget, you started as a single cell organism and you multiplied from there, folding and unfolding and unfolding. But at the end of the day, everything's made from the same stuff, right?
It's a process.
Exactly. So I think if we treat it as, you're not just treating a problem, you're treating your whole person.
Yes,
Yeah.
don't treat the symptoms, guys. Don't treat your symptoms. Treat your body. Treat yourself. Don't treat the symptom. Don't even focus on your pain points. Focus on getting into your body. If you want to get out of pain, you got to go in your body, give yourself permission to understand what you're feeling, and then listening to what the body is trying to tell you, and then taking the action. Again, treat it more like a child crying out for your help. Don't chase your pain.
Absolutely. And it doesn't matter if you have musculoskeletal issues, if you have autoimmune disease, if you have, you know, cancer, whatever it is that you have, any disease, pathology issue, or you just want to improve your performance, MELT can help you. So ask those questions, you know, reach out to us on social media, read Sue's books, find us on Facebook and Instagram and YouTube. Find Nikki, find Laura, find Kim, find me, find all the other instructors that we have all over the world. We have solutions for your problems. We truly, truly do. It doesn't mean it's a cure. I mean, we got to be careful with that one too. We're not a cure. We're not a religion, but this is a support system for your body. The cure is within you. Yeah, absolutely. So awesome. So we're just about out of time here. So I wanted to thank all of you for joining us here for this very informative panel. I could have gone on another 3 hours with all of you just nerding out over all of this. And I wanted to give you a couple of paths that you could take with you as far as your journey in MELT, along with the whole social media thing. You can see from our conversation here, we're just at the tip of the iceberg of all this. I mean, really, there's just so much more of this important topic for anybody who wants to stay fit and active for a lifetime. If you are interested and your interest has been piqued as far as learning more about MELT or becoming an instructor like I did, and Nikki and Kim and Laura, there is a level 1 MELT instructor training that begins in January. And it's the first step to becoming a certified MELT teacher and to continue your journey into MELT performance. There are 5 levels of the training, and so it all begins with level 1. The course can give any body worker or fitness professional a valuable new offering for clients, and the information is so important for your own health, as we just discussed, and wellness as well. So make sure you go to meltmethod.com and look up certification info and get all the details for registering there. And for anyone who is interested in MELT performance as an add-on technique for your own practice and your own fitness routine, melting, you definitely want to go on to Melt on Demand. So you can find that on our website to register there, and it's a wonderful app on your phone and or your iPad, and I think your smart TV too. Can you add that on your smart TV? Fabulous. It's a great platform. Melt on Demand is just a fabulous platform. It's full of tutorials from very beginning to very advanced, and very, specified for different things. And you can definitely learn and apply all of that to your daily life. And there are hundreds of classes, something for everyone. Like we said, we have instructors all over the world. So it doesn't matter what sport you play, what you do for a living, where you are in your current life, there's definitely something for you out there. So head to meltmethod.com and go ahead to the subscription packages and check that out. And as I said, make sure you follow us on social media. So thank you, Sue, Nikki, Kim, and Laura, for a fabulous and inspiring conversation. I hope all of you enjoyed this. Thank you again for joining us for this fabulous talk. Happy melting.
Happy melting.